Hello guys. I'm International Master Andrey Ostrovskiy, and this is Learn from Chess Blitz, a show that gives you an opportunity to learn something new about chess while playing against me. This time, our topic is castling queenside. So I'm obliged actually to castle queenside in each and every game. At least I decided to do this, which should definitely give you some additional chances to beat me. If you're for the first time here, I'm playing on leadchess.org, so just go there, find me by my nickname Ostrovskiy, and challenge me for a 5 or 3+2 blitz game. As for the spelling of my nickname, it is just the same like in the short link leading to my YouTube channel. You can find it here below. It is bit.ly/Ostrovskiy. And I can see a great activity on live chat already. Just as usual, would be very helpful if you could give me a hint if the sound and the picture are all right. And I already have some challenges, so probably we are just starting playing right now. Okay, so I'm really happy, guys, that you are here. So Zweihochzag, Kramnik Student, Azure Mist, that is great. That you came because I was missing you, honestly. And Zweihochzag says stream is fine, which is also cool. And I can also see Rodolphe Kotler. That is amazing. So Rodolphe is a friend of mine, by the way, from the times I lived in Ukraine, in Donetsk. And wow, that's amazing. Peter is also here. Okay, great. So let us start, guys. Let us start. So, Azure, Love 15. Okay, let's start with Love 15, That's a nice nickname. And I'm playing with black. So, when you play with black, of course, it's really hard to castle queenside because not each and every line allows you to do that. Not each and every opening gives you such an opportunity. So I'll start with the Scandinavian, because in many cases in Scandinavian, at least the queen moves, so that the queenside castling is prepared, right? Right. Okay. Knight to c3, queen goes to a5. d4. And let us prepare castling. So let's play knight to c6. Not very cool line, but at least in the sense of preparing castling, it's okay. So I'm doing everything to castle long, and I'm ready. So the next move can be already castling, which is nice. Perfect sound. Says theoretiker. Okay. And bishop to b5. It is a good move, by the way. Very nice one. So now the knight is pinned. There is a positional threat of just taking a damage in my pawn structure. So should I care or not? I think, well, bishop to d7 will be stupid. I have just played bishop to g4. So instead, I will just castle. Let's see how this works. All right. Okay. What do we have here? We have some pressure against d4. We, by the way, have the just direct threat. We had the direct threat of just taking on d4 because the knight on f3 was pinned. All right, bishop c6 gives me no chance but bc6. And now I have awful pawns. Simply awful pawns on the queen side. As a compensation, I have pair of bishops and more or less active setup. And bishop e3 is, in my opinion, a bit passive. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I have a feeling that now, to continue the development, I need to do something really super aggressive. If I just keep playing normal moves, I think gradually I will be outplayed because of this very bad pawns. So what to do, what to try here? I guess this move should be interesting. Because we have two pins now. The knight is pinned by my bishop. So the knight cannot take on e5, at least right now. And the pawn d4 is also pinned. So d takes e5 isn't possible because queen on d1 will be hanging because of my rook on d8. So all this gives me an opportunity to come up with the breakthrough in the center right now. And again, to create some concrete threats. Now I have a sort of, let's say, plain e4 maybe, because knight on c3 is also pinned at the moment. Maybe just taking on d4, followed by something like c5. Also some ideas connect with bishop f8 to bishop to b4 square. So bishop b4 looks also interesting move, especially if king remains on e1. But everything depends on what white is going to do now. So I was suggested e5 as well. Yeah, it's a typical thing here in this line of Scandinavian. So black tries to come up with quick castling and then e5, using the fact that queen is still on d1. That's the idea. Queen to d2, all right. This is strange a bit, because now I can take on f3, let's say, and then I can take on d4. But probably white prepared castling or something, because if bishop takes d4, I have c5, attacking the bishop. And the bishop is pinned, so I should win some material, I guess. Okay, so let's take. First, again, just damaging the pawn structure on the king side. And now let's take on d4, with the idea of c5, if bishop takes. It's a fork. We can notice that both pieces are hanging. And feels like castling is the only move, because only this move actually pins my pawn d4. Now I cannot take on c3, I cannot take on e3, at least right now, because then rook on d8 will be captured. So this gives white some time to save the minor piece at least. But I can just continue development, I guess, with the bishop b4, pinning the knight. And then if bishop takes d4, I still have c5, winning the material. I can also just protect d4 pawn with the c5 move with the pawn. And then once the knight c3 goes away, and it will happen sooner or later, I can take on a2. This is also interesting, probably, but I like this bishop b4. Actually, I like bishop b4 because, first of all, I'm just continuing the development. It is a very aggressive move. I need only one move more to protect my rook. Let's say with the help of knight f6 or knight e7. And I don't give white a chance to actually play something like knight e4, attacking my queen. So the knight is pinned now. And even if I don't win the material, I have a threat of taking on c3 at some point. I guess it is also very annoying. All right. So now I can take on c3. I think I have bishop a3 as well as an option. I can potentially just play knight to f6. But if I play knight to f6, okay, a takes b4 is probably a bit annoying. I like this idea. I just take on c3. This forces b takes c3. Because if queen takes, I take with the pawn. Now I can take on a3 with check, forcing the king to the b file. And I guess rook to d5 should just win the game immediately. Because I have a threat of rook to b5, right? Yeah. Rook to d5. So Twyhus X, at least a perpetual. There is perpetual. I don't see a perpetual. And I don't need a perpetual. I need a checkmate here, and I think I get the checkmate. So rook to b5 is a threat. If c4, then I will play rook to a5 also. Great square. Oh, after c4, come on, the things are not that clear. But fortunately, I created another threat. So in addition to rook b5, I have a threat of taking the bishop now. Whew. Thanks God. Because look, if white plays c4, then after rook to a5, there is a possibility to play queen takes d4. I will show you this after the game, quickly. So an interesting moment. But after queen d4, of course, I'm winning easily, I guess, in each and every line. So let's play rook to b5 check. To capture the queen, also winning the time. So after queen b4, which is the only move, I just take here and take here with check. And the rest is simple. I just need all the pieces developed and it will be over. Okay. All right, so let's have a look at what happened in this game, and let us start with the very last interesting moment after rook to d5. So I thought initially that after c4, I would just play rook to a5, creating sort of this checkmate, and it's over. But now queen takes d4 is possible, and there is no clear way to checkmate white. Because a1 square is controlled, queen a2 doesn't give me anything because king just runs away through d2. Queen b4 is also nothing because king can simply go to c1. a1 square is controlled by the queen. There is also a possibility to play queen b2. So I think after c4, the correct move for black is obviously a d takes e3, because in this case, I just grab the piece. My rook is no longer hanging on d8. And what is great here, I attack the queen twice. With the rook and with the pawn. So c takes d5 doesn't give white anything because of this e takes d2. That is the thing. And Omkar says, I'm sorry, so something is with my voice. Instead of bishop b4, was d3 just mate? No, I don't think so. If we don't play bishop b4 here, d3, just queen takes d8. King goes to b7, it was check, and now, wow, just queen takes f8, for example, should be just winning for white. So bishop b4, in my opinion, was much better than dc3. Also, people suggested bishop to e7 here. Yeah, bishop to e7 was also an interesting move, protecting the rook. Now again, there is a threat of just capturing the bishop or the knight. Bishop takes d4 is probably forced here. But not quite. So in this particular case, white can try the following thing. It is knight to b1. Interesting move. Attacking my queen. So my queen is under attack. And I saw such an opportunity, but I consider it knight to e4. Knight to b1 is better because if I take on a2, there is no threat of a checkmate. Okay? That's why knight to b1. And now if I take the queen, bishop takes. And white is safe. So there was a problem with bishop to e7, in fact. If I take on a2, of course, bishop just goes away somewhere. If I play bishop b4 here, all right, something like c3 is possible because my rook is hanging again on d8. And also it is possible just to play queen to d3, so I cannot take the bishop here, okay? So knight to e4 is not great with the same idea, I think. Because I can take on a2 now. And I have a sort of a checkmate, and the bishop is still hanging. That's why knight to b1. That's why knight to b1. All right. So that's why I decided to play bishop to b4. Because I wanted to pin the knight. Okay? Maybe I missed something. And after bishop b4... bishop takes d4, I can play c5. That was the idea. So I just play c5, bishop is pinned, and I didn't see how white can actually save the minor piece here. Maybe something like a3, in fact, was possible. Maybe I just underestimated this move. Let's have a look at this. a3, what to do now? I can take on d4 with the rook, attacking the queen. And if a takes b4, then queen to a1 check, intermediate one, and then I take the queen. Yeah, I guess this position is already quite bad for white. So somewhere at the beginning, white lost his chances. So first of all, bishop e3. I didn't like this move at all. So instead of doing it, it was interesting to try the suggestion of the computer. As you can see, queen to e2, just going away from that file, because bishop f3 is not really dangerous. Queen just takes, attacking both f7 and c6. With a similar idea, it was interesting to try something like h3, and if bishop h5, then it's possible even to continue with the g4 to put the knight on e5 at some point. But I think queen e2 is just slightly better than this because it's more solid. And the bishop is not necessarily good on e3. In many cases, it's better to consider bishop to d2, creating some threats of discoveries and so forth. So J. Max Juster says bishop g7, not a3. In that case, I just take the queen, and white doesn't have a sufficient compensation. Or what do I miss? Let's have a look. I don't miss anything, because after bishop g7, there is no... Oh, maybe there is a chance to take on d2. Maybe that's the point. All right, let's have a look at that line. That is interesting. So I play bishop b4. Bishop takes d4. I play c5. Bishop takes g7. Okay, now I take on d2. Probably white has to take on d2. And now my rook cannot be protected, at least at first glance. Yeah, this may be annoying. This may be annoying, but I can take here. And now if bishop takes, I have queen takes a2, creating sort of a checkmate. At the same time, creating sort of f6, saving the rook. And this should be winning for black. Should be winning because white has no time to capture my rook. So if white wants to capture my rook, it's necessary to take with the pawn. Where after queen takes a2 is still possible, but well, there is a chance to protect a1 square. But maybe there is no chance, no clear chance at least, because after queen takes a2, there is a threat of queen a1 checkmate. At very least, it will be just the check capturing the rook next move. So c4 is forced more or less, covering a1, and now I can play f6. Again, regaining this threat, and white has no time to save the material. But that was a good suggestion, Jay. Actually, interesting one. White's problem is that there is no time. There is simply no time because of this threat of queen a1 checkmate. Black wins anyway in this case. Okay. So, nice game, interesting one. I managed to castle queenside, which is a good sign. So there are some openings, even when you play with black, that give you an opportunity to castle long. Let us continue playing. Rook to d1, you mean rook d to d1. Okay, I can play queen a1, king d2, queen d4 check. I will just grab a lot of pawns now. Lots of pawns. And I will be better anyway. Maybe I'm missing something better than that. So for example, here, everything I need, in fact, is to control d2 or maybe to bring the knight to b4 to win the game. So maybe something like knight to e7, bishop a1, and say knight to c6 should be completely winning. Just creating a threat of knight to b4, knight to d4. So we should never forget that I have the knight and the queen, which is a great attack in tandem, and white has not coordinated pieces. So the king is completely opened and so forth. So maybe it's not like automatically winning, but the fact that black has amazing advantage here is clear to me. For that's not even a question. So let's say if you activate the rook like this, I just play knight to d4, attacking the pawn c2, and I cannot see a clear defense. If you take my pawn on f6, say, I just play knight to b4, attacking the pawn c2, creating sort of a checkmate, and everything you have here is just to run away with the king, but, well, I will chase you, okay? So, interesting stuff. Let's go further. Let's go further. Cry like a grandmaster. Let's play this guy. And again, black. Again, black. And let's try the same. Let's try the same. Maybe not entirely the same, but still trying to... Alright, knight to f3 is, in my opinion, not very good. Because d4 stops me from playing e5. Knight f3 doesn't give anything. So Jay, you say bishop takes f6, then rook d8. Okay, just king to b7. So what? You still have to protect c2 somehow. It's a bad position for white, believe me. e5. That's the point. Cry like a grandmaster says, great stream, by the way. Thank you very much. So with the help of e5, I fight for the center. It is much more active setup if compared to positions after d4, I guess. But there are some disadvantages as well. So for example, f7 is much more vulnerable if compared to lines when black plays knight f6, then bishop goes out, and then something like e7, e6. All right. So can I play something like knight to c6 now? That's an interesting question to me. Is there something like knight to g5 threatening already? I don't think so, but can I play bishop g4? So if I play bishop g4, bishop takes f7, king f7, knight g5 is super nasty tactics. Then taking my bishop on g4. Alright, so let's try this move. Anyway. Sarit came, hello. And Don G is also here. That's fine. That's great even. d3. d3. So the way white plays here is maybe not super ambitious, but quite poisonous, I would say, because now there is a sort of threat of like playing bishop d2. And with the knight already on c6, it's not clear where to go away with the queen. If that is the case, of course. If there is a threat after bishop d2, there will be a threat of knight to d5 or something. Yeah. Not so clear what to do now. Maybe just bishop d7, and if bishop d2, just castling. But then this knight b5 or knight d5 look very, very bad for black. Moreover, it's not that simple for me to castle because of f7 hanging. Wow. Probably knight to c6 wasn't a good idea in connection with this e5 move. Probably. So bishop g4, bishop takes f7. I don't like it at all. Not so clear what to do now. Not so clear. Okay, let's play bishop d7, although I understand that it cannot be good. It cannot be good. But white decided not to capture on f7. Maybe it's a good portion of news. Or the great portion of good news. Rook e1. Yeah, strange position. All right, let's go aggressive. Hopefully I don't lose a queen. but it feels like my queen still has some space. But knight to e4 is very strong, of course. Now it's possible at least to take on g8 and then to take on f6. Yeah, I completely misplayed this game. Completely. Absolutely. But white is not going to grab the material, which is strange. Which is strange. So let us protect it then. Yeah, my queen was almost trapped. Almost, but looks like I'm lucky to escape the immediate loss. But of course, somewhere taking my f-pawn was possible for white, and I think this would be just almost losing for black. Now I'm not so sure, but I have only 46 seconds on the clock, which is annoying. But I'm not no longer that deadly lost, I think. So I can just push my pawns here. h5, h4, g4, g3 at some point. Maybe even f6, f5 when the knight comes back to e4. So it looks very attractive. And this gives me just a hook, at least. Let's take with the bishop. Pinning the knight f3 and activated my rook d8. Although intending just to play h4, h3 quickly. And my queen on b6 no longer looks that bad. Actually, it exerts pressure on f2 and takes part in the attack. So white definitely missed a great chance to beat me in this game. What happened? Queen e2. Okay. h4. 40 seconds only. So it's important to weaken the knight on f3 for sure. Do I have something decisive right now? I don't know. Maybe I don't. But okay. Let's keep on playing aggressively. So now I have a threat of just taking on g5 if I want. There is no clear way to get to opponent's king. But now I think I have some ideas. So there is this threat of bishop f3. At the same time, I just create this e5 square for my knight. So I want to take here first. And then knight to e5 becomes possible. Most likely I'm blundering something, but right now it looks great. So I have a sort of just taken on f3. Position is completely crazy, but looks like at least I have the initiative because I have very strong threats. Very strong threats. All right. No, I'm not going to take the knight. Could have been something like, no, queen didn't have check, but okay. Here we go. Checkmate, because it is a double check on g1. Very nice checkmate. But of course, white was winning at some point. White was winning at some point, for sure. So starting from the very beginning, I think e5 is an interesting try, but after bishop c4, knight to c6 was already not that great. But I'm not sure what was the right way of playing it, because if I play bishop g4, the thing we were discussing during the game, bishop f7 is possible, king f7, knight g5, and then queen takes g4. So I don't think that king g6 is a good idea. So queen takes here, sort of like knight f6. This cannot be good. So something simple like queen to g3 should be just good enough, or maybe queen to e6, maybe even queen to c8, attacking b7. Okay, king can take on g5, but I don't believe it is possible to survive such a thing. So yeah, bishop g4 isn't that great. If I want to prepare this bishop g4 move, I should probably protect g4, so to play something like knight f6. But in this case, I didn't like the knight g5 move, attacking f7 directly. And yeah, this is bad already. That's why I played knight to c6. So I saw, guys, the suggestion to check the end stage of the game because there was a fork or something. All right, I'll look at it. So let's have a look. Bishop here, castling. The first moment is here, by the way. So pawn on f7 was hanging. It was possible just to grab it. It was also possible to start with knight g5. Was also great. So in both cases, I have no compensation whatsoever. So after f6, I had a feeling that something like knight d5 should be considered. Your idea, you later played knight to e4, was also good. But this one is kind of very straightforward. I think I have only c5 square. Now b4, attacking my queen, I have only d6 square. Now b5, attacking my knight. Next will be bishop b4 or something. At very least, you just win enormous quantity of tempi here, developing your attack, which is very nice, which is very pleasant. Knight to b5 was also an interesting try, in which case I no longer have the access to c5 square, so I have to go somewhere to b6, in which case my queen is quite bad here, so you can consider playing something like a4, and then a5 at some point. Should be also very, very good for white, maybe almost winning. So you have much better development, you have much better prospects to attack me on the queen side if compared to me attacking anything here on the king side. But okay, you played rook e1, I played g5, knight e4 was strong, but after queen b6 I thought you would just capture on g8. And after rook g8, knight takes f6. Should be a big advantage for white. Attacking the rook, then grabbing the bishop, giving me no chance to play with pair of bishops, and you have much better pawns and extra material. So after bishop c3, position is no longer that simple to evaluate. Maybe here I should have captured with the pawn, continued by, for example, playing f5. That was probably a very straightforward and good way of doing this. Then f4, g3 should lead to a very quick win. Bishop g4 was kind of, well, too optimistic. Queen e2, h4, knight e4, h3, g3. And here I didn't see a clear way to exploit this pin along h5, d1 diagonal. Don't know, maybe I missed something, maybe not. This idea wasn't great, so I feel like I already missed my greatest chance here, because at very least you had a chance to simplify the position after queen to e3, at least to try to simplify. It was interesting. You played knight e6, I played h2, then e4, takes e4. So what was the suggestion to play knight e5 at which point? Oh, after I played, yeah, now I understand. So after d takes e4, I took on c3, takes on d8, knight to e5, bishop e6, check. And now if I play king b, yeah, now knight e5 was a very good resource. But probably it's not enough, because after knight e5, no, it's enough because you take my queen with check. That's the problem. So I thought that after bishop e2, knight d7, I go away, knight b6, bishop f3, checkmate, but there is no checkmate, so I have to go here, knight takes here, I take here, and rook e2, and white is winning. So, most likely, I missed my chances here, so probably taking on d8 was correct. But I was a bit afraid of checks along the d file. Maybe I just overestimated white's chances here, because look, at least I control d3 and d2 squares, which is good for black, so queen cannot escape with the tempo, and most likely so like queen d1 or maybe rook d1 should be considered. Yeah, but maybe here there is additional resource of playing rook to d3 next move. Okay, yeah, this position is entirely unclear, so if I play king e7 then rook d3 protecting the knight on f3. What's going on? I have two minor pieces for the rook at the moment. Yeah, maybe I have just a material advantage after queen takes e6, let's say. And if rook takes c3 or something, I just take on f3, and it should be just winning for black gradually. Yeah, maybe it's still okay. Maybe it's still okay. But yeah, it definitely deserved attention. I mean, to take on d8 in this position. Wow. Interesting game. And of course, after king b8, knight c5 was winning. Unless there is a surprising resource right here, but I don't think so, because my bishop is already hanging. Yeah. And I'm down the material for sure. That's an interesting. So by the way, there is a discussion on chat now, because Zweifelsack super chatted me. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, my friend. So where you type your chats, there is a sign of $1, and you can hence send me a super chat, which means you will support me financially a bit. So it's just a donation, the form of donations, while watching to my live stream. So if you appreciate what you see and what you hear, you can donate a bit. Zweifelsack, thanks a lot. Let's go further. Interesting game. Interesting game again. So now let's play Azure. Let's play Azure Mist. Have not played for ages. White pieces. Nice. There are so many different opportunities to castle long. C5. Sicilian, of course. So now I have to choose the line where white castles long. There are lots of different lines, but the problem with that, I have no idea what to do there. So let's play bishop g5, because I usually play with short castling, but who cares? All right, Peter donated as well, and Don G. Guys, you're awesome. You're just awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So as far as I remember, here white has two main options. They are f4 and queen d2. Let's try f4. It's more aggressive. I prepare queen to f3. I prepare queen to f3. And then castling. I've never seen this before. So I mean, queen b6 is an interesting line, but probably almost immediately when the queen is still on d1, because here I have very natural way of protecting everything, which was hanging b2 and d4 with one move, which is the main topic of today's session. So castling queenside. h6, all right. Now I can play bishop to h4. I think there is no downside. Maybe there is something like knight takes c4, but I don't believe in this. I don't believe in this. So let's go bishop h4. So queen on b6 doesn't do a lot. when there is no chance to force me, for example, away from the center with the knight, when there is no chance really to take on b2. In fact, the queen stops the on b7 pawn from going to b5, b4, and so forth. This should basically simplify my attack. What about e5 now? e5 looks like almost a winning move. Let's do it. I used to play lines with queen b6 against bishop g5 when I played Sicilian myself, but of course it was absolutely different position and different order of moves. All right. And Crowning Student says castling long is brave. Not in this position. In this position it was a very natural decision. So, what to do now? I mean, if knight goes to d5, I just take it with the tempo attacking the queen. If black plays g5, I take on f6 with the tempo as well. Already looks like a winning position, I guess. Poisoned pawn is what you used to play, Andrey? Yes, I guess it is called exactly this. So bishop g4, bishop g5, e6, f4, queen b6, this line. All right, g5 I just take here on f6, right? So but takes f6, takes h4, takes e7. So after taking on f6, what happens? Bishop takes f6, but then bishop f2, protecting the knight and d4. Let's do it. Maybe there is something even better than bishop f2. Let's check. Bishop is hanging, knight is hanging as well. I can take potentially on g5 here, bishop d4, then taking on h6 or something. But why should I do this if I have a chance to save extra material on the board, right? So now I have a threat of jumping with the knight somewhere, because my bishop exerts some pressure on the queen. I cannot take on f4, obviously, because of bishop g5, skewering my queen and my king. So knight takes e6 looks like a move. Let's do it. Queen is attacked, rook is attacked. It's a lost position. Queen a5. Again, without much thinking, I think I have to take the rook, simply. Why should I consider anything else if there is just a rook hanging, right? Bishop d4. Trying to exchange the bishop and so forth. Yeah, position is absolutely lost. White has extra rook, no compensation whatsoever. Okay, let's have a look at the analysis board, although there is not so much to analyze. So here, after bishop e7 and queen to f3, the best move is, well, I'm not sure what is the best move, but there are two interesting ideas. To play knight to d7, but probably a bit better is to try queen to c7, preventing bishop c4, and preparing b5, because now if I play e5 at some point, you have bishop b7 attacking my queen. So that is the correct idea. If you want to play queen b6, play it prior queen to f3 happened. So queen to b6 here, attacking b2. It requires amazing knowledge, of course. As far as I remember, I learned tons of different variations here when I used to play that as black. But well, at least positions are funny. So like b2 is hanging now. Of course, white doesn't want to play something like rook b1. So there are only two options: to put the knight on b3 And another option is to play gambit, so to sacrifice b2. As far as I remember, it is possible to do after queen d2 move. So now queen takes b2, something like, well, two moves again, knight to b3 or rook to b1, where after it is possible to play e5. So a lot of different lines, lots of complications, and so forth. All right. So after bishop e7 and queen f3, queen b6, well, attacks the knight and pawn on b2, I understand, but after castling, I protect both, and it's not clear how to continue the attack, because pawn b7 should take part in this attack, but queen blockades it. And if you play queen c7 now, it looks like the position from the main line in which white has extra tempo, which is definitely great for white. So now I can play, I can probably consider e5, but I don't think it works in this particular case. So most likely the best thing for me to try is just to play this g4. Again, followed by the typical bishop f6 in case you castle, then g5, f5, and so on with this attack. All right. But castling is probably a decisive mistake. After e5, I don't see the way to save the material. Because if you take, I take. And if knight goes to d5, I have, unfortunately, knight takes d5, attacking the queen. So you don't have the time to grab my bishop, which means I win the material anyway. All right. Okay. Let us continue. And let us play Zwei Hoch 6. Let's play. And white pieces. Here we go. Want to castle long. Is there a chance for me? After c6. Caro-Kann. How to castle long in Caro-Kann? Not so simple, but I can play f3. Yeah, probably the line with the f3 gives me a chance to do that. Of course, everything depends on what black will do here. If black plays the line with the e5, it will be fairly hard to castle long. But if black plays on like knight f6, e6, well, it is possible to castle long. All right, this is a mix of different ideas, I guess, because now I can play e5 easily. Yeah, let's play e5. Bishop g4. All right. Queen is under attack. So should I move my queen somewhere to prepare castling? I don't think so. There is no good square for a queen. So bishop e2 maybe. Bishop e2, but probably I will need this bishop to attack later. So knight to f3 simply. Yeah, let's play knight to f3. All right. Knight to d5. Okay, so now I have some sort of advantage in space because of this pawn on e5. I can increase this advantage in space by playing c4, I think. But c4 is a bit risky because it weakens d4. Everything depends, however, on the real possibility for black to use my d4 pawn. So when I play just c4, knight c3, something like this. Let's try it. I have something in mind. I mean, if black will grab the pawn on d4, I will have a tempo for playing bishop e3 and castling. Maybe that is exactly what I'm going to do, to suck some material. So, knight b6, knight to c3. If bishop f3, I wanted to take with the queen. So black decided not to do that. Now I have the time to play bishop e3, simply. protecting d4. And, well, the mission is almost complete. I need my queen somewhere, and then I will castle on. Bishop b4. Okay, so here I wanted to do what? To play queen to b3 with the tempo, attacking the bishop and then castling. Bishop f3 takes queen h4. Okay, bishop f2 simply. Looks like I can do this. Knight to a6, protecting the bishop. That's strange. I expected something like a5. Because in that case, at least, black is ready to continue with the counterattack. After knight a6, black somehow stops on attack here, I guess. And there is also an interesting try for me now to play c5. No, at the moment it's not very good because knight goes to d5, my knight is pinned. But in general, it can be an interesting idea. So c5, knight d5, takes d5, bishop a6, and then takes on b4. It's not possible since my knight is pinned, so let's castle first. And now I probably have the threat of playing c5, winning some material. Another, just a positional threat of just putting the knight on e4, get into very important squares. Okay. Dungy says, I'm always reluctant to castle long when I've played c4. Well, yeah, the more pawns you push on the side, the harder it is usually to castle there, but I have no choice today. I simply have no choice. I anyway had to castle somehow. And now let's check c5 first quickly. So c5, if knight d5, I take on d5. Okay, then queen d5, bishop c4, queen e4, bishop a6 takes, queen b4, queen takes e3. This is unclear. And after c5, there is also intermediate bishop takes c3 capture. That leads to bc3, knight somewhere, queen b7, knight on a6 is hanging. Okay, but that is not clear. So let's go simply to e4. That's a natural move. And now I think I can consider c5 not even with the idea of grabbing this bishop, but with the idea of just additionally controlling d6 and getting to d6 with the knight at the same time. So my position starts looking very, very attractive at very least. What? What is going on? I don't understand. I will just take. Alright, but I can come back to c3. I can put my knight on d6. I can do whatever I want. There is no threat. I can even play knight to f2. I mean, I'll go to f2, attacking the bishop. Very strange decision, this knight to d5 move, I mean, because there is a simple defense. Maybe it was just a mouse blip. Or maybe black was disgusted with his position. I don't know what was the real reason of playing like this, but it's clear to me that it is absolutely lost now. What to do? To simplify a position. Extra material. I don't even have to think of the attack there on the king side because I have extra minor piece. Yeah, very strange game. Very strange game. Oh, this is another very strange decision. Now my knight is just great, just like in French defense or something. E6 is weak. E8 square is weak. D7 is my target. And this is just a checkmate. Come on. X, you were so generous in this game. That was very strange. Very strange. Few things in the opening. So I guess the most testing line here is something like playing knight f6 immediately, or maybe e6 first. I don't remember the order of moves. And after this, something like bishop b4. And again, I'm not sure what to do here. Maybe bishop d2, maybe queen. I don't even remember the order of moves. Maybe knight to e2 is still possible or something. And then knight f6 and so forth. So it leads to very complicated play, but I think black is at least not worse there. And has some good chances. Taking on e4 is also absolutely playable, absolutely possible. But here I think black should think of playing e5 maybe. Which leads to absolutely different type of play. So white plays something like this, then bishop goes to c4, and obviously white should castle short here. So maybe this line was the best one against me today, because I had no right to castle short, and preparing castling long in this line, in this position, is not that simple task. So playing knight f6 here is probably still possible and playable, but you should understand now we have something similar to Elekein's defense or Elochin defense. And in this case, white simply has the advantage in space and so forth. I thought that you would capture here. Of course, I can take with the pawn, no questions, but I wanted to try this quick development. I wasn't sure I will have sufficient compensation for two missing pawns, but at least I thought that I would have pair of bishops. Position is quite open. I have some advantage in development, so it felt very interesting to try, I guess. So you played e6. Now I played bishop to e3. I don't have to sacrifice the pawn anymore. If you take on f3, I take with the queen, and d4 is protected. So bishop b4, just queen to b3. Here I thought you would play a5, in fact. Just trying to come up with this a4, a3 quickly. Of course, bishop should be either protected or exchanged for the knight on c3. I prefer, of course, protecting it after that. I mean, when you played a5, to do something with this bishop. Maybe then knight to a6 actually makes sense, and then a4 and a3, something like this. So after knight to a6, you actually limit your own active possibilities here. And after castling, I already thought that this position was better for me. So castles, knight to e4, I just control almost everything here. I'm going to play c5 and knight e6. One of the ideas, another idea is just to start developing the initiative here on the king side, maybe to bring the bishop to g5. And if you play bishop e7, I can exchange bishops, and then you will have this hole on d6, which is very annoying. Another idea is probably to try something like connect with the h3 move, attacking this guy. If you take on f3, I have the better access to g7. If not, I can play g4, h4, g5, h5, so forth. But of course, knight d5, just the move that loses everything. So after this, it's over, because now I have extra material and so forth. Let's go further. The next one is let's play Surit. e4. So let's try another opening. I'm fed up with this d5. So I'm going to try something strange at first glance, but at least my queen is already on c7. So this means I need to develop the bishop and the knight somehow to complete the mission. at some point. Maybe bishop g4 right away. Bishop e2, knight to d7. I'm ready to castle. I'm ready to castle. Maybe not quite, because if I castle, f7 is no longer protected and there is something like knight to g5, potentially annoying. But I can protect this with the knight to h6, just in case it becomes a real problem. So let's castle. Donji asks, what is this opening called? It is called the idea which suddenly came to me when I decided not to play d5 and was struggling to find the way to castle long. That is the opening. Okay, f7 is hanging. That's annoying. Knight goes to h6 now. Castles long as well. Alright. Alright, probably a good idea. In this particular case, I must admit white is better, simply better. So, especially after exchange of light squared bishops, it's really hard for me to do something. Would be nice to play f6, but if I play f6, knight goes to e6. I mean, f6 followed by knight to f7, so on, but this all looks like a dream. So probably I have to do something with light squares as well. Let's say I will start with the knight b6 move, then probably e6 at some point, and then something like bishop e7. Looks not very inspiring to me. Maybe I will play e6 followed by d5. And after d5, my knight will get the possibility to jump to c4, but d5 just prevented me from doing it. Wow, Surit plays very, very good tonight, today, in general. Just a prophylaxis and very annoying one. If I take on d5, there is knight to b5 move even. Attacking a7, so maybe I have to start with something like king to b8. Very bad position. But I still have some chances, so white shouldn't overestimate his chances. So ideally I want to take on d5 to have at least c file open, but I'm not sure that it's sound right now. So I'm definitely worse here, no questions. We're not talking about fighting for advantage. It's about saving the game at least. But if I play c5, it's just even worse than having the pawn on c6. No chances after that whatsoever. Okay, let's try the following thing. Let's play rook to c8, because anyway I want to play along the c file at some point. It's also a good idea to complete the development, but I don't see a good possibility at the moment. Crowning Student says, I feel this might be Andrey's first loss. Yeah, might be. Almost each and every game might be my first loss. I take risks. I take risks in each and every game trying to artificially prepare castling lawn. As I said before, it's not necessarily very sound everywhere. Right, rook c5. What's the idea? I'm not sure. Maybe just preparing another rook to d1. But that's okay. So probably rook on d4 gives me a chance to develop my bishop with a tempo. Let's try that. Peter finally asks, first loss ever? No, of course not ever. Just within this session. I lost so many games, actually. You cannot even imagine how many. So I'm playing chess since I was 5, which means 23 years. My goodness, I cannot even imagine how many games I lost. Rook to b4, all right. Not sure that's what creates a threat even after this move. So bishop takes b6 is not necessarily that dangerous. c5 is an interesting try here as well, because the rook will be misplaced somewhere on b3, I guess. I'm not quite sure. But first, I want to develop my bishop on g7. Attacking the knight on c3. And now probably c5 should be played, because knight on b6 was already under pressure. Now the rook is hanging. Knight takes b6 is probably forced. Okay. Maybe I should have captured the rook, but then knight to c5. Sorry, c8 was possible anyway. But now I have a clearer plan. I can use not very good position of the rook to start actually pushing my pawns. Like b5, b4, c4, winning the tempi as well. Just like this. So, rook on b5. It's time for something active, I guess. It's time to activate my pieces, so let's go. Yes, I'm giving up f7. But I have created a threat of taking on e3, and since the rook on b5 is protected by the queen, this might force f takes e3, which is a good change of the pawn structure, in my opinion. Good for me, of course. Now I can try this move. Okay, one on time, but my position is no longer worse. I think my position is slightly better already. Maybe even much better. I don't know. Maybe I missed some tactics. Probably I didn't. So look at this. The knight is no longer on this super ugly h6. It is already in the center, attacking the queen. This rook is misplaced. I have more space on the queen side. I have some prospects of the attack there. I'm about to kick this knight away to f3, then to capture it, and so forth. So I no longer have problems here, I guess. So that is the thing. This rook d4 was a strange maneuver. I'm sure that that was the start of White's problems in this game. This rook d4. It's not necessarily a, the move that leads to a bad position, but I'm sure that there was something much better. So d5, I liked this move for sure. That was great. Just stopping me from playing e6, d5. Now king to b8. Super ugly. It's time to do something. It's time to activate the pieces somehow. Maybe just something like queen to f3 was a natural follow-up of d5. Since I don't have this e5 or e6, my f7 is simply hanging. I was not sure what to do in this position, to be honest. So White's idea is super straightforward, just to capture on f7. So probably White is simply material up already. And I don't see a compensation since I'm not developed. There is probably no compensation at all. I would have probably played something like knight to c4, then knight f7, queen f7, knight takes e3, damages the pawn structure slightly. But tell me what to do with this bishop. I have no idea what to do with this bishop. So even if my bishop gets to h6, there will be a problem with the e7 pawn for sure. White is about maybe even to capture on c6, because in that case, if I take with the pawn, I have some problems with the king for sure. If queen takes on c6, then the knight jumps to d5. There are some ideas connected with rook d3, rook c3. So this position looks almost winning strategically for White. Almost winning. There is also just an idea of bringing the knight to e6 as well. Looks a bit slow, but White has the time here, since Black has to spend a lot of time to complete a development. That was interesting. So king b1 was too slow. After rook to c8, there was still possible to come up with this idea to attack f7, but it's no longer that efficient as one move before, because when you play queen f3 here, I don't have f6 or something because of this fork. And after rook to c8, I can already consider playing f6. I know this looks awful. This looks super ugly. But I have some tactical resources after that. Maybe I have nothing. In fact, no. f6 is still not possible, so probably queen f3 was still possible with this idea of attacking f7. But with the rook already on c8, I think I can do something like c takes d5. And after e takes d5, since knight takes d5 leads to queen c2, which is also not that clear, by the way, after king a1. But let's say e d5 to avoid it. I can play something like knight to c4. No, I cannot because of bishop a7. Yeah, position is still very bad. Position is still very bad. Yeah, it was still possible to play queen f3. Just a conclusion. Rook d4, the first move that gives me some chances and some hopes, because now I can use this rook to win some tempi. And in general, this maneuver isn't that cool. So you don't really have great chances to attack me here, and your rook is just misplaced. 100%. So look at this. Rook a4 is another mistake. Rook to b5 should have been played. Still having some pressure against my b6. And intending to play maybe a4, a5. Or maybe to come up with a maneuver like queen c4, queen b3, attacking this b6 also can be interesting. But definitely not a4, because after that I play queen d7. And already here I think my position is quite pleasant. So now I control everything. I can protect my f7 if necessary. I have this plan of b5 and so forth. Maybe I should have captured the rook or the knight. Maybe I should have played this, in fact. Instead of playing c6, just captures the knight, rook takes, and now c5. Maybe something like this. Maybe even cd5. No, a7 is hanging. No, it's not possible. Yeah, that's why I played c5. All right, what could I have done? Because I don't really like my position, to be honest, after rook b5. So this looks a bit nasty. The fact that my queen is pinned to b6 pawn. So could I take on b4 instead? Let's have a look. Knight b6, cb4, knight takes c8, rook takes c8, but I achieved nothing here. So yeah, c file is open, no questions, but what is next? I don't have a lot of resources here. So only the bishop, which attacks b2. The knight is far away, although I have some ideas connected with knight g4 right now, because c2 is not protected enough. But in general, feels like there are no chances for black to do anything. That's why I took on b6. I thought it would be more promising, but rook b5, I completely overlooked that possibility, unfortunately. And rook b5 was a good idea for you. Which means maybe even bishop g7 is already a mistake. So c5 immediately looks better. So just c5. Here forces the rook to ugly position, either b5 or b3, but that's a different story if the rook goes to b5 now, because it attacks nothing. And I can try something like queen b7 again. I can try a6, by the way, if I want. Forcing the rook to b3 maybe, but I'm not sure where the rook is needed. So bishop g7 looks like a good idea, just attacking the knight. By the way, now the rook doesn't control a4 square, so bishop g7 looks very, very logical. Looks like a tempo move even. And so forth. Yeah, probably I somehow didn't understand that the move order matters here. So c5 immediately was better. Yeah. In any case, an interesting game, but the main lesson here, if you get the better position like the one you got after knight g5, and you see that your opponent is struggling with completing a development, you should be more aggressive. So identify the main weakness, it was my f7 pawn, and try to actually exert additional pressure on it. So queen f3 was very, very good. I think after that, it is a clear advantage for white. Okay, let's go further and play Kramnik Student. And I'm playing with black, just very, very bad. So how to castle long and where to find such a resource. Of course, I don't want to play Karakan or anything. Is there a possibility to castle long, for example, in Sicilian? It will be probably just a suicide. Will be just a suicide. All right, let's try d6 still. It's getting harder and harder to castle long here. But at least I will try. Okay, so the first achievement, the pawn structure is slightly worse for white now. Azure Mist super chatted me. Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So knight to d7. f4. Wow. Kramnik Student is super aggressive in this game. He's just going to squeeze me, I think, everywhere. Just using the whole board. So let's try to find some weaknesses. Let's say, what if I play queen b6? Okay, I prepare castling, but I also exert pressure on d4. So if bishop goes to e3, I will be greedy and I will just capture the one on b2. And now after e5, I guess castling long is possible. It is possible, so let's castle. I managed. And this position doesn't look entirely losing for black, by the way. And moreover, I believe that this position is quite good for black. So I can take on b2 now. I'm not sure white will have a compensation. Or maybe it's better for me to take on e5, in fact. Let's check. D takes e5. If f takes e5, I can capture on e5 with a minor piece. So d e5, probably d takes e5, then queen takes b2. Knight will probably go to a4. I will put my queen on a3. Or maybe queen b4 check, but it doesn't make sense, bishop d2. So queen to a3. And then I will have some threats. Yeah, let's start with this move. It was potentially also possible just to play knight to h6 and then knight to f5. Okay, but I'm a bit greedy in this game. I want to grab some material. By the way, guys, if you want to learn some chess, improve your playing, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. There you will find a lot of instructive materials. And the link, you should probably know this. It is here below, bit.ly/Ostrovskiy. Alright, but after knight a4, I can play simply queen c7, right? And now if white takes on e5, I just take on e5. That's the idea. So I win some material anyway. So here I wanted to capture how? With the bishop? No, if I take with the knight, there is bishop f4, but then knight e3 and queen takes f4. So I can take on e5, in fact. So, looks great. Looks great. I'm better developed, simply, and I have better pawn structure now, in addition to extra material. So I like my position. By the way, I have a threat of playing queen a5 at some point. Because the queen looks a bit overloaded protecting the knight and f3 square, which I attack with my knight. So white should be careful here. And bishop e2 is probably a move. Now what to do? What is the best reply? Knight takes c4 followed by b5 is just too much. Although could be also playable, I guess. So bishop f4 was suggested, but as I said before, bishop f4 leads to knight d3 check, and then I take on f4. So bishop f4 was not dangerous. Now, what to do now? I have different options, of course. Don't want to go away with the knight from e5. Maybe just knight to h6 followed by knight to f5. For knight to h6, something like queen c1 can be possible, potentially. Not very pleasant thing. Okay, let's go away. Looks solid, at least. Queen c2. Now knight h6 should be absolutely playable. Intending to occupy this very good square on f5. And exert pressure on d4, which is typical for this pawn structure. b4, okay. Knight f5, tempo move. Attacking d4. And also attacking the bishop, because after knight e3 I will have a follow-up like queen to g3. Should be very promising attack for me, because we will have opposite colored bishops. This means the one who starts the attack usually benefits. And it's not that hard for black to find a follow-up after that, so knight e3 takes e3, queen g3 check, then probably bishop to h6, attacking this e3 pawn additionally. So, don't know. It's a hard choice for white now. I guess. Queen e4 was played. All right. Knight to f6 now. Or maybe I will just start with taking here. Because queen e3 is forced. No, f takes c3 was played. Yeah, if queen e3, I probably had queen d6 attacking d4 and b4. Additional resource, sort of. Now let's give this check. And this looks very, very attractive. At least at first glance, but maybe there is no clear follow-up. You know, let's play this move. There should be a follow-up. Something like e5 at some point should be very, very annoying for white to play against. Yeah. Very good position. Okay, now what to do now? Let's play bishop h6. Exerting additional pressure on e3 and d4. And now let's try this. I know that I give up 2 rooks for the queen, but it's a different case. We still have minor pieces on the board, which changes everything, and I will have a crushing attack. Feels like that. Feels like that. Especially after bc6. Should be just over. Let's bring the knight to action. Okay, check. One more check. Check with the bishop. And checkmate somewhere. Somewhere here. Well, maybe there is no checkmate. Alright, one on time, and probably misplayed it a bit closer to the end of the game. So maybe I missed a simple checkmate somewhere. So check. Yeah, after king e1 I could have captured the rook, come on. I could have captured the rook already here, and so forth. Alright, so. Yeah. Interesting game, but I think white just overestimated his position at some point. Or maybe played too quickly in the opening. So, let's go to analysis. And look at this position. So after bishop to g4, I think it's much better to protect d4 to prevent damage in the pawn structure. Maybe just to play bishop e2, in fact. Okay, bishop f3, so at least pawns are good. It shouldn't be just a decisive mistake, obviously, but better to avoid things like that. Now after knight d7, I don't think f4 is sound. So something like h4 deserves attention when you have such a pawn structure, because you want to get rid of your bad pawn, which is separated from the rest of the pawns on the board. You want to play h5. And if I play h5, I weaken my positions. G6 becomes much more vulnerable, and any sort of attack against it may be quite annoying. So say if you play f4 now and then e5, you already have a sort of something like e6, just making my g6 completely weak. So it's another story. I mean, playing h4 first and so forth. So yeah, f4 is strange. I went queen to b6, attacking d4, and preparing castling. And somewhere here, X suggested c5, but I'm not sure that it was suggested for white. Maybe it was suggested for me, for black, because I didn't see a possibility for white to play c5 anywhere. So e5, okay, that's a move. But after castling, we can see that black already has a better development. But maybe it's still okay. For example, Computer says that after d takes c5, queen b2 and knight a4, position is balanced. That's an interesting evaluation because I thought after queen a3 I should be... Oh, after queen a3 I underestimated probably this move. Yeah, queen b3 was great here. Actually exchanging queens, and after that my bishop is a bit stupid here on g7. a7 is hitting. White has pair of bishops, so maybe this position is quite playable. Quite playable, because if I play something like b6, I weaken c6 a lot, and you can attack it immediately with bishop g2 or something like this. And, well, yeah, white has definitely compensation here. That's what I underestimated. Yeah, it's true. D takes c5 was possible and good. So probably somewhere here you started misplaying it. So knight a4 is definitely bad. So now after queen c7 I'm much better. Much better. Because I'm much better developed and your pawn structure is quite bad. You have a lot of weaknesses, lots of weakened squares I can use and so on. But even super straightforward play like preparing e5 should be very pleasant for black. You don't really have the attack here, and I believe, yeah, this is just very bad. And here b4 is probably a decisive mistake. I also felt like, well, it cannot be sound because you're not prepared for this sort of attack. So I played knight to f5, queen to e4, knight e3, f e3, check. It's absolutely lost. After queen d3, I played bishop here, b5, and yeah, rook d4 is absolutely winning. It's an absolutely lost position for sure. So after bishop e3, something like c5. Let's have a look. So when white played bishop to e3, c5 for black or for white? I still don't understand. Still don't understand. Probably for black. But if I play c5, I just give up d5 square. Felt very, very risky thing to do. Black is also not very ready for this sort of play, I guess. With the queen on b6, it is quite vulnerable. Maybe I should have captured on b2 immediately, in fact. But yeah, I decided to start with the d5 because I somehow forgot that white can simply trade off queens. That's a strange thing. I mean, strange decision I made. So, interesting game. Let us continue. Let's play G-lad. Yeah, let's play G-lad. 3 minutes will be really challenging. But white pieces, which is great. And Sicilian, which is also something that simplifies my task of castling long. Okay, let's still play bishop g5 and e5 against it. It's probably not very good. Let's go to f5 now. But that is probably a thing because, well, in such a situation, of course, it's better for me to castle short and simply play against d5 square. There is also a plan, obviously, to play g4, g5. But it's not very clear how to develop my queen here. It's almost... What happened? Black resigned? What's that? That is really strange. I didn't even castle. That is strange. So, yeah, white is better here, no question. But it's not a lost position, I guess. So, it's still playable. Okay, that was strange. All right. Let's play Cafe Cluster. Accept. And still white pieces. That was a very strange thing. I mean, that black resigned. What was that? Why? All right. Aha. E6. But this also gives white a chance to castle long. But after a6... Yeah, after a6, of course, knight takes c6 is a move. It will be very hard to castle long, but I have to. That is what I call a great strategy. I mean, my opponent definitely knew that. I would have to castle long, but with this pawn structure, it looks really, really hard. d5. Queen e2. So I'm preparing castling, obviously. And bishop d2. Yes, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'll start with e5. And we'll castle next move. By the way, according to the strategy, instead of bishop b4, rook b8 deserved attention, or maybe something like queen b6, stopping me from developing the bishop. Because bishop b4 actually helps me. d4. So the point here, if I take on f6, d takes c3, I take with the pawn b2, queen takes f6, pins the pawn, and it's far from castling long. But alright, I have knight to e4, which is still okay. So takes here, to take with the queen? Yes, I guess to take with the queen. Come on, this gives me knight d6. No, it's wrong. I mean, it's very bad for black. Should be, at least. And now castles, finally. Queen g5 was also an option. And black decided to prevent it. I missed that, but since my task is to castle queenside, once I saw I can do it, I actually did it. So how to continue here? Bishop to c4 or bishop to e4? Attacking d4 looks very, very attractive. Something like f4, f5 looks like a plan. Let's start with the bishop c4. Simply attacking the pawn d4. Maybe forcing c6, c5. In which case, I think the position of the knight on d5 becomes slightly more vulnerable. And my plan of playing f4, f5 at some point may become even more interesting. Let's bring the rook to the center. Since the king is in the center, looks logical. Moreover, here the rook has some possibilities at some point. Rook b8. Now I have to be careful about my b2, because probably black wants to play queen b6 very soon. Now I understand that probably bishop to e4 was better than bishop to c4. How to get to the king? It's a good question. At the same time, not to be checkmated there. Probably after queen b6 I will have bishop b3. Looks solid because I control c4 square twice, so there is no problem with c4 or something. So I have resources. Which means maybe it's a good idea for me just to play queen to d3 and send in queen somewhere. Here, attacking g7, maybe get into h4 square, so let's try it. Kramnik student suggested knight to c3 and queen to a5. I don't think it was playable. Instead of rook b8 probably. Okay, I just take on c3, queen a5. You don't have threats. I just take on d4. And then my bishop is here to cover my king along the b file, I guess. Moreover, knight c3 wasn't a tempo move. I could have played queen f4, attacking f7, let's say. I mean, this rook on d1 is a minor issue. That's what I mean. Okay, b2 is hanging. I guess I should play bishop to b3 to avoid weakening of my king's position and to have knight to c4 if necessary, and so on. Knight to b4. Whoa, that is an interesting idea, by the way. Knight a2 becomes possible. Missed that. So probably I have to play something tempo like queen f3, attacking f7. Still possible to take on a2, of course, but then I have king to b1 at very least. I should also consider taking on a2, and after queen b2, king goes to d2, and if queen takes a2, I have queen takes f7, which should be just winning for white. And the king on d2 will be more or less okay. Unless black has something like queen b4 check, king goes to e2, but there is no follow-up. So the pawn is still on a6, which means there is no bishop a6. So yeah, I think I can afford that. So just take it on a2 and playing king to d2. Rook f8 protecting. Protecting f7. So now potentially I can play a3. Maybe right now is also a good idea. Where the knight goes. I'm not sure there is a great square for the knight. Because if knight d5... Okay, knight d5 is possible. Come on. So I somehow start misplaying this position. Knight a2 is nothing. I'm not forced to take. Just play here. Knight a2 was strange. So golden rule of chess. Chess is not checkers. I don't have to take. Extra minor piece. Feels like that. Knight c2 didn't work as well because of king c2 and bishop on b3 was protected twice with the king and the queen. It's why Jose X. That's the answer to your suggestion. And now I can do almost everything I want. Probably a4 is a move here. Let's play a4. Preventing a4. The thing is, I control c4 with the knight. Wow, this is too much. This is just too much. All right, I'm just collecting material. One unit after another. Yeah. Okay. There is an interesting try for you to actually occupy the b file somewhere here. Instead of playing bishop b4, I thought something like rook b8 could be interesting, but the downside of rook b8 is that potentially I can grab that pawn, but maybe not quite. So rook b8, okay, I take. You can play d4, attacking my knight. If that goes away, there is queen a5 check, grabbing the bishop. So probably here I'm forced to take here. Now you take on c3. My bishop is hanging and pawn on b2 as well. So black is winning. So rook to b8 was probably possible, since I don't have bishop a6. And the point is that I don't understand what to do next. I mean, in a normal game, of course, I would play castling short, b3, bishop b2, and so on. But in this situation, when I'm obliged to castle long, it's really hard to imagine the way of doing it. Because if my bishop goes away, you just take b2. If I play b3, it should be just lost after bishop b4. Well, maybe it's not lost, but it's very close to strategic complications of the highest level. Especially if we imagine that I still want to castle here. If I castle, dark squares are completely weak. So you can do whatever you want. You can play queen a5, let's say. And I have to go back probably, or maybe to a4. In each and every case, almost in each and every case, castling becomes very complicated, if possible. Something like d4 is also a great move here. So black is by no means worse here. It would take into consideration the fact that I'm castling long, all right? Yeah. But okay, bishop b4 is not a decisive mistake, of course. Knight f6, e5. Here I expected knight to d7. But in that case, black should be ready for something like queen g4, attacking the bishop and g7, in which case our bishop can go back. Maybe e5 wasn't that sound. Maybe it was better for me to try castling immediately. But d4 actually gave me a good square. So I was already satisfied with this position because now I have some threats to take the knight first of all, to play knight to d6 if it is possible. And after bishop d2, queen d2, let's say if you take my knight, okay, I just take on e4 and I have a better pawn structure because you have some problems with your pawns. They are quite weak, all of them. And this d4 becomes a target, very easy one. So I'm going to castle. And d4 will be already under attack. My bishop is better than yours, and so forth. So this position looks already quite good. So probably knight d5 was an interesting try. But after knight d6 and king d7, come on, queen g5 was a move. I don't know why didn't I play that. So just attacking the king cannot protect g7, so king is forced somewhere here on d7, where after I can take on d8 and take on f7, I can take on g7 now. But of course, in this case, you play queen a5 and I cannot castle. All right. But anyway, interesting. So somewhere here, I started misplaying position. So h6, bishop c4 to start with. Well, maybe bishop c4 was okay. c5. But I missed something somewhere here. For sure. I feel like this rook to e1 wasn't that great. But I didn't want to take, for example, on d5 here. I saw this opportunity, but after that, and queen f4, let's say, bishop just goes to e6. And all of a sudden, this king on e7 starts feeling very comfortable. So it is surrounded by pieces. Okay, my knight on d6 is not necessarily that great. I don't understand what is he doing here in general. So yeah, this is not very attractive anyway. For white. Yeah, that's why I didn't take. Because I realized after that the bishop is being improved and so forth. That's why I played rook e1, rook b8 was correct, queen d3, queen to b6, bishop here. Okay, knight b4 is an interesting resource. Probably even more interesting was to start with the a5, in fact. Because here you create this threat and you want to activate the bishop. That could have been potentially very annoying for me. I'm not sure that I have a clear way to actually parry all these threats. Position starts looking very, very strange. So maybe a4 is forced. In which case you can try something like this and with the idea of playing d3 at some point. So at very least it is not clear, that's what I mean. That deserved attention. Knight b4 was also interesting, but after queen f3, feels like knight a2 doesn't work. So I take, queen takes, king goes here. If queen b4, as I said during the game, I just play king e2. And the next check will lead to bishop c4. And there is no check even at the moment, which is great. So only d3, but okay, I just take it. So queen b4 is not great, so probably queen takes a2 should be played, but then I take on f7. And after king d8, I wanted to even grab this g7 pawn. Attacking the rook, creating a threat of queen f6 or something. Knight to f7 is also a threat. It's not clear where to go with the rook, by the way. And still, this check on a5 is only one check. I just play king a2, so what? There is no follow-up. That's what I mean. Okay. That was the idea. So probably knight a2 wasn't possible. That's why you protected the pawn. Again, probably f6 or even f5 was an interesting way to do the same. In which case, of course, e takes f6 should be calculated, but I don't think I have... No, I probably have some ideas there, to be honest. So if you play f5, I take here, you take on d6. And I can play what? I can play f takes g7, I can play queen to g3, followed by taking on g7. So maybe I have some initiative here, to be honest. But I'm not sure if it is a decisive thing or somewhat dangerous. But now I see f takes g7 followed by queen f8, in fact. Yeah, this is probably bad for black. This is probably just bad. All right, so rook f8 was played. Now a3 and... Well, knight should have gone to d5 or c6. Not to a2 for sure, because after knight a2, I just play king b1 and trap it. But that was an interesting game. Interesting one. Yeah. Let's continue. Let us continue. I'll play several more games. Let's play against Nikin. Black pieces. Oh, black is always hard. Black is always hard. Let's try c6. c4. So I'm trying to play normal chess just for now. But at some point I will start playing strangely. Because my task is to castle long. And d4. So let us protect on e5. At the same time, pushing the queen. So again, I need only 2 moves now to be ready to castle. So 3 in general to castle. But everything, of course, depends on what white is going to do. Knight to c3. All right. So now bishop to g4. I don't think there is a threat, so we can play knight to d7 now. And we are almost there. Almost there. But probably it's a good idea not to hurry up, really, because immediate castling will be almost a suicide, I would say. So I will make some additional development moves. So I want white to make some weaknesses on the king side. But of course white is smart enough not to do that. That's clear. So let's prepare the attack. So the question, why didn't I take on d4 with the pawn? Because I don't think it gives me anything. It only helps white to centralize the knight. After g5, it's no longer the case, because, I mean, taking on d4 is no longer a question at all, because if I take on d4, knight takes d4, then bishops are being exchanged, and knight gets to f5, and so forth. b5. Alright, if white takes on c6, I will be just deadly lost in case of castling, which means probably I am just simply forced to play c5 here. I hate playing like this, no questions. Look at my pawns, look at all this. But I was forced to. I was forced to do that. So at least position on the king side could be closed, more or less. And after ed5, well, I expected cd5, honestly. Bringing the knight to c4 then at some point, or at least having c-file open. But after this, I guess I'll have great chances. So let's castle. Now it's time. We'll bring the bishop to blockading position on d6, I guess. And then we'll just start pushing those pawns, f5 and so on. Yeah, bishop d6, let's go. I'll take it, and f5. I like my position now. I mean, after this bad opening, it looks not that bad anymore. Knight to b3. All right, how to put my rooks here? So I want to play e4, in fact, just attacking h2, creating some additional weaknesses. But my rook on h8 is hanging, so maybe we will start with this. Rook h7, on the other hand, looks a bit strange. Okay, maybe just rook g8. Don't like position of the rook on h7. Looks a bit stupid, I mean. So Twakozek says bishop c3 and then a3, a4, a5. Yeah, but at some point I just go away with the queen. And it's not possible to open up a position there anyway. But white probably wants to play bishop a5 with the idea of what? Of forcing me to play b6. But I'm not necessarily forced to play b6. I have knight to b6. Let us protect everything here. Almost everything. I mean, h6 can be captured if white wants. Because now we do what? We're bringing the knight to e5. Queen e6, king goes away, bishop e5 still looks quite pleasant for black. H-file is open, which should potentially simplify my attack there. Okay. Rook on a1 is hanging, pawn on h2 is hanging. I have everything protected, which is nice. Now check. And rook to h8 should be almost decisive. Almost decisive. d6, bishop, d6. There is a threat of bishop g1 now, and then queen h2. g3, I take the pawn. I guess taking on h6 was almost suicidal. f4. Okay, what is the best move? Bishop takes f4. Bishop e3. Check now. Queen h2, queen h1. No, queen h2 is not necessarily the best move here. Not necessarily the best move. Okay, let's bring the queen simply to g3 square to start with. Attacking the rook. And if rook f1, then queen h2, of course. Rook d2 is more or less forced. What about this? Yeah. Want to take on g2 with the checkmate. And now just check and checkmate on d3. Yeah. All right. Interesting game. Interesting game. So somewhere here, I felt like absolutely lost. So when I played c5, it felt like absolutely lost position. I guess taking on e5 was correct. Knight d5 was correct. But after this, just take with the pawn. c4, not e4. And this should be just a great pawn structure for white in general. Then just positional knight d2 followed by knight c4 and so on. I still have complications with finding attacking resources because white didn't make a weakness here. And playing f5 is bad for me at some point because you just take and I have just lots of weaknesses all around the board. It's very bad. So taking with the c4 pawn was very interesting and very good, I believe. After e5 position is no longer that great for white. Still, it was interesting to try to exchange. No, but that is exactly what white played. So white played knight d2 at some point. So how to prevent f5, at least quick f5? Maybe something like queen c2. But after queen c2, alright, I still can play f5, I guess. Yeah, it's no longer that simple. So this position is quite simple for black to play, to be honest. And yeah, I like control everything here. Knight b3, rook g8, bishop c3, e4, queen h5. Yeah, queen h6, and I just, come on. I just have great position. But there was a suggestion of taking on c5. It's probably somewhere here. In this case, I just take on h2. King goes to h1. And now what? I can do probably just the same rook h8 move. I mean, it doesn't really help. Knight to d7, just go away. And we have the same problem for white. If knight takes f8, it's just a checkmate. After bishop g1. So knight h7, rook h7, king g1, queen h2. Oh no, knight h7, immediately queen h2. Yeah, it's lost just on the spot. And if white doesn't take on f8, then what to do? So the same line. I mean, doesn't really help. So I do the same. Bishop h2, rook h8 is decisive. Yeah, I guess cd5, that was way better. Just stopping my play here, almost completely stopping my play on the king side because of this e4 pawn still here. By the way, in the sense of attack on the queen side, you have the c-file, which is also a great resource potentially. So you bring the bishop to e3, rook to c1, this or another one, don't know which one is better. And, well, you will have additional possibilities, you will have additional ideas connect with sacrificing something on c5. Maybe playing b6 at some point and so forth. Yeah, I love this position for white. It's just a position with a great advantage. That's what I mean. All right. Let's go further and play probably one more game. One more game. And I want to play against... yeah, this guy. And again, black pieces. Super hard. Super hard. d4. This is probably the most annoying move in the sense of castling along. But I can probably try the same strategy. I'll play d6, c6, queen c7, and so forth. But this time I will try another strategy if white plays knight f3. So maybe not bishop g4, but to start with something like g6, bishop g7, and then to see how this works. What if I try something like f5 here? Can it be playable or not? Yeah, I know, all this looks not very sound, but I'm trying to prepare castling long as quick as possible. I guess the easiest way for white to get some advantage was to take on f5 and to continue with the bishop d3 one move ago. Because now I can probably play f4, grabbing some space. And yeah, why not? Actually, if I want to attack here, I will do this easily. b4. cd5 looks interesting now, but then ed5. So the knight is weakened, but I cannot actually use it. What if I play c5? Then knight goes to b5. Yeah. If I play knight e7, it's not clear to me how to develop this guy. Bishop c8 to castle. So maybe just g5. Yeah, let's play g5. a4. Now I guess I can try something like this. Attacking b4. And now even c5. And after b5, well, position will be closed on the queen side. This is what I wanted to achieve, in fact. So let's bring the knight to b4. I'm not against even if white plays bishop a3 and bishop takes b4, because in this case, dark squares will be very weak in white's camp, which means, well, I'll have greater chances to activate my stupid bishop f8. Now bishop d7, almost completing the mission. So that's castle. Queen a5 was also absolutely playable, no questions. But I just want to sacrifice this pawn, as I said before. The point here is to try to activate the dark square bishop at some point. But I have to be careful to prevent the opening of the queen side, in fact. So I need my queen somewhere on the other square. Or maybe I can simplify a position now. I mean, bishop b8, knight e7, then queen to c5. Also looks interesting. Or maybe just queen b6 right now, bringing the queen to e3. But I have a feeling that this queen can be trapped there. So I'm not prepared for that. I'm not prepared for that. If I play b6 now, then a5. Say king to b8, ab6, ab6. No, I just give white a lot of different resources. Okay. I don't really want to play a rook e8 and queen d8, but probably I will be forced. So let's play that. This question from crowning student Andrey: will you consider doing book reviews on your channel? Well, actually, to make book reviews, you have to read a lot of books. I don't do that, unfortunately. So I'm not sure that it's a good idea for me. So the point behind rook e8 was, if white plays a5, I play queen d8, and if b6, a6, if a6, then b6, and position remains closed on the queen side. So something like that. And the suggestion of king b8, bishop c8 is not very good because of a5, b6. I also considered bringing the knight to d7, but I thought it would be just very, very slow. So I'm ready. I mean, if white castles short now, I'll just smash the king there, for sure. If white doesn't castle, well, I'll also have some resources. So queen d8. Since I've already played g4, my queen will have some interesting possibilities on h4, just once my knight goes away from f6. And white decided to castle the other side. Probably it's a good idea. Now we need the knight on c5, I guess. So now probably this idea of bishop c8 starts making sense. Also, it would be nice to bring the bishop somewhere to d8. Another interesting maneuver. Yeah, I'm a pawn down, but I probably have slightly better position anyway. Or maybe it's just completely balanced. I don't know. Probably it's not so realistic to actually occupy c5 square, because white controls it sufficiently. So most likely I will just bring the knight to c5 at some point, and after exchange, okay, I will be with the pawn on c5, but then we'll bring my bishop to d6 or something like that. So my object of attack is probably h3, right? Right. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time here. So let's play a bit faster. A g1 square looks attractive. Okay, let's take the piece. Should be a good idea. Probably queen a4 or something was much better than taking on b7 immediately. Because now I control the a file, but who cares? I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time to win this, most likely. Oops. Oops. Queen b4 checkmate. Yeah, I was lucky because I had only 3 seconds, but yeah, position was already winning. By the way, I'm not sure that taking on b5 was correct. At least rook to g1 was probably a mistake because after cb5, in fact, white has some threats there, and I should have played something better than rook to g1, I guess. Because after rook g1, what I don't like is that after a6 and queen h4, the move I played, it's really annoying to play something like queen a4, I guess. So let's have a look at this on the analysis board. So instead of taking on b7 immediately, which helps me coordinate my pieces, queen a4 first, creating a threat of a takes b7. This, well, tripled pawns in the b file look ugly, but they control a lot. So I don't know, maybe something like bishop c8? Yeah, bishop c8 looks like a defense, by the way. So if a7, king a8, if a b7, then bishop b7, queen a7 is just one check. Now king goes to c8 and it looks like I managed to protect myself. Now the bishop gets to b8 and so forth. So yeah, maybe it was not that dangerous, in fact. But I had no time to figure it out. So probably white had great chance to flag me after queen a4. Yeah, bishop c8 looks like the only move here. A takes b7 is already a very nasty threat. Okay, maybe there is queen d8 as well. So I played queen h4 actually to bring my queen closer, and looks like here I have such a chance because after a b7, fortunately I grabbed this one, and I have queen here, then king here, and I control everything here. So again, I'm fine. Yeah, maybe this sacrifice wasn't that sound after all, but it was a good try in this mutual time trouble. No questions. No questions. Yeah, interesting game. Interesting game. Let's have a look at what happened here. I guess after f5, there was a great chance just to take. After bishop f5, bishop to d3. After exchange of these bishops, I will have position full of different weaknesses, including e6 square, e4 square, and so on. I hate it, simply. So, I mean, it's not lost, of course. I can even go away with the bishop. No, I cannot really go away with the bishop because there is a threat of queen to h5 already. Quite annoying. Well, at least to parry this threat, I have to go back to c8. Super ugly. So, most likely I would have captured here. Queen takes. Okay, I can play knight f6, but it's just a position with the advantage for white already. So knight to f3, then very simple idea, knight g5, followed by knight e6 or knight e4. If I play h6, I weaken light squares even more, and so on and so forth. The question, what about a7 instead of taking on b7? Yeah, that was an interesting idea, I mean, here by the end. Let's have a look. So queen a4, bishop c8, a7. But I just play king a8. First of all, my king is safe. And I have a very simple plan. I can grab the pawn. So maybe a7 is the idea, just to blockade everything and maybe to make a draw with white. But I can grab the pawn b6 gradually. So I bring my queen to d8. Then at some point, the rook on the 6th rank, then bishop goes away somewhere, and I grab b6 at some point. Yeah. So a7 doesn't work, doesn't help. But e takes f5 was a great idea. Right? Right. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot for being with me. Hopefully you learned something from these games. I actually was obliged to castle lawn. Probably next time I will try to play with short castling. So I will play just a normal positional chess. So in each and every line. Okay. So as we noticed, well, in the vast majority of cases, of course, it was dedicated to attack more or less, because if you castle queenside, in many cases, well, you are being attacked and your best strategy is just to attack your opponent. Well, attacking your opponent doesn't mean making only attack and move on the other side of the board. Sometimes it is a good idea to combine attacking things on the other side with defending your king as well, coming up with some prophylaxis and so forth. So we noticed in many games I was trying to avoid the opening of the queen side, so that I was making some prophylactic moves, going away with the queen, and especially in this game, by the way, I just moved my queen away to prevent b6 with the tempo, which inevitably leads to opening of the a file, let's say, and managed to keep position on the queen side closed. All right. All right. Many thanks for super chatting, by the way. That was really pleasant, just as usual. It is always pleasant. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Twitch. All the links can be found here. And wish you a great week, which will start very, very soon. And also see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.